YouTubers to the knife review of the EB Bully. When you order a Bully, it comes to you in this padded pouch. And there is the Bully. The Bully is made by Eric Bono of EB Knives. He started making knives in 2013. Initially, he worked in sales for different metal companies. He worked for Crucible, selling steel to knife makers like Dwayne Dwyer of Strider Knives. And in his interaction with the knife makers, he became interested in the hobby and started making knives himself. By profession, he's a mechanical engineer. He's vice president of sales and marketing to Purist, which is a metal seller. They acquired the metal SM100, which SM stands for Summit Materials. They acquired Summit Materials. And that's the thing that's distinctive about this knife is the blade. But before we get talking about the blade, I want to go over some of the specifications. The blade length is 2 inches and 15/16. It's just a little shy of 3 inches. I'm going to do for some comparison some other knives that are commonly known. This is a Lion Steel TRE. As you can tell, it's a little bit larger than that. Here is a Hinder XM18 3-inch blade, similar in size. Here is a Sabenza. The blade is similar in size. The handle's a little bit longer. Here is a ZT0450, which is comparable in size. The blade is a little bit longer. The Shirogorov Neon, comparable in blade size. The handle's a little bit longer. And the Curtis F4, which has a similar length handle, and the blade on the Curtis is a little bit longer, I believe. The total length of the knife is 7 1/4 inches. The blade stock is 4 millimeters long, 4 millimeters wide. As you can tell, it's comparable in width to the Curtis. The only knife that I own that has a thicker blade stock is the Medford Praetorium, Micro Praetorium, which has a 4.8 millimeter blade stock, and this is a 4 millimeter blade stock. So you get the idea that it's a very chunky knife, very thick, very well built. Anyway, back to Eric Bono. He's a wonderful guy. I talked with him on the phone about this. This is the first folding knife that he's ever made. And so far as to the date of presentation of this video, which is February of 2017, he's only made about 15 folding knives so far, and this is his first folding knife. Whenever I ordered it to get on his books, I asked him if he could anodize the handle, and he said he's never done anodization before, but as a favor to me, he did this. This is his very first attempt at anodizing, and I think it turned out very well. He went over to Chris at Ferrum Forge to ask him how to anodize handles, and he ordered his own equipment, and Chris helped him out. That's one of the beautiful things about the knife community is that instead of being competitors with one another, they're really friends with one another, and they're sharing trade secrets, and I like that ethic within the knife community. The interesting thing about this particular knife is that the blade is not steel. There are 3 substances used to make blade as of today. Historically, steel, which is, as you know, iron in combination with an alloy. The other is ceramic, and now there's SM100. SM100 is named such because it was marketed initially by Summit Materials, which later has been acquired by Purist. Originally, it was developed by NASA to be used in outer space. It's a non-magnetic metal. It's a combination of titanium and nickel, which is ironic because there are 3 magnetic metals, iron, nickel, and cobalt. Some of the rare earth metals in their alloys are magnetic, but they only exist for moments in artificial circumstances in a laboratory. But for some reason, nickel, when you combine it with titanium, becomes non-magnetic. Because the blade is non-magnetic, made out of SM100, you can apply a magnet to it and it won't stick. Just to show you this is a magnet, I have a pair of 3 here. See, it sticks to the pair of 3 and to the SM100 won't stick. The scales are titanium as well. So basically, the knife is a non-magnetic knife with the exceptions, as I've mentioned, that the detent ball and the stop pin are made out of steel. Also, the knife is corrosion proof. It will not rust. They say that you can even put it in the ocean and pull it out in 100 years at the bottom of the ocean, and it won't have a bit of oxidation on it. Another interesting thing about SM100, it's a metal with memory. The Rockwell hardness of 20 to 30, around 25, you can make a spring out of it. You can stretch the spring straight, and then with a blowtorch you can heat the spring and it will return to its normal form. Not only that, you can, I've seen a video of it, you can attach a 10 kilo weight on the bottom of the spring as you heat it, and the spring will return to its original form and lift the kilogram weight on the end of it. The metal has a Rockwell hardness of 60. This is done through heat treating, which Eric Bono does himself. It's a very tough metal. It's used for a lot of applications in the bottom of the ocean for deep ocean oil wells because it just doesn't wear out. Whenever Eric grinds these things, he goes through 6 grinding belts, he says. Sometimes it'll take 5 or 6 hours to grind a single blade, although he's modest. He said if he was good as other guys, it may only take him 1 or 2 hours, but it takes a long time to grind it because it's such a tough, durable metal. It should hold an edge very well. And for those of you who do your own sharpening, don't be afraid by that, because as part of Eric's warranty, he will sharpen the knife for you for the entire life of the knife. Of course, he only has made 15 of these so far. We'll see if that holds up when he has 100 or 1,000 that he's manufactured. Others have used the metal to make blades, notably Dwayne Dwyer of Strider Knives, Jerry McGinnis, Ferrum Forge, Blood Blount of JBB Knives, Gavco, and Daryl Ralph. You won't see a lot of these blades coming into production because it's such a difficult metal to work with. Whenever Eric gets the metal, he sends it off to be water jet cut and then double disc ground to the thickness that he wants it. And then he basically machines it himself and grinds it himself. He has some basic mill machines and some hand tools, but he doesn't even have a CNC machine. This is as close you can get as custom as you can get. And the filing, the chamfering on the spine, that's all done with hand files. You'll notice that it doesn't have any jimping on the thumb ramp. I talked to Eric Bono about this. He says it's a preference of his. He doesn't like the feeling of jimping, and he feels it doesn't need it. And you do get a good purchase whenever you press against that. I don't feel like my thumb is going to be slipping forward at all. The blade stock is 4 millimeters. The knife is opened with a thumb hole. As you can tell, it's an oval thumb hole. And it opens and deploys very nicely. Because it is a 4 millimeter blade stock knife on phosphobronze washers, you do need to use a little wrist, at least I do. It is heat anodized, and in the heating process, it changes color. Eric says that he has a metal foil that he puts on the flats, and he binds it tightly on the flats and then leaves it open a little bit on the part of the grind so that it can oxidize and cause this beautiful coloration. As you can tell, it goes through the color spectrum of Roy G. Biv: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And then it does that again, and then it goes red, orange, yellow, and fade. So it goes through 2.5 color spectrums of the anodizing process on the grind. The handle scales are made of titanium, and he put on this model 3 portals. The purpose of that is just to display the beauty of this beautiful blade. The show side has a reset cut for your finger, and your index finger fits nicely there. Then your hand has very good ergonomics, and you have a little bit of handle left over also. Mine is anodized, and as I mentioned, Chris at Fair and Forest showed him how, and this is the first anodized bully that he's ever made. The lock bar, as you notice, doesn't have a lock bar stabilizer. I talked with Eric about that, and he said whenever you have a 4mm handle scale stock, really it's difficult to overextend it, and he didn't really feel it was necessary. It also doesn't have a stainless steel interface with the blade tang. He does, however, carbonize it. Whenever you carbonize a knife, you get a carbide rod and you put it over the end of the lock bar, and you pass electricity through it, and it lays down carbide, much like arc welding, onto the end of the lock bar. Normal titanium has a Rockwell hardness of about 40. This blade, like most steel blades, has a Rockwell hardness in the 60s. And so over time, normally titanium would wear away and you'd get a little lock. So he carbonizes that so it doesn't happen. And the relief cut in the lock bar is done externally and works nicely. We'll talk about the pocket clip now. The pocket clip is very functional. It's a surface-mounted titanium spring clip. Notice it has a whole more than 5 millimeter distance between the handle scale and the tip of the ramp of the pocket clip. This gives you adequate clearance to get into your pocket. Eric describes the finish on the pocket clip as a rough satin finish. The pivot is a custom pivot made by Stephen Kelly, as is the hardware, which use a Torx bit. The knife runs on phosphobronze washers, as I've mentioned before. It's a flow-through design, as you can tell, and it has 2 titanium standoffs which have been anodized a beautiful bronze color. My overall assessment of the knife is a really nice knife. The blade is unique, and I appreciate that a knife maker wants to put the energy into doing something unique and original in the knife community. Instead of just ceramic and steel blades, we now have SM100, and it's very difficult to work with, so I appreciate the time that Eric Bono put into making this beautiful knife. It's also interesting in that you can color it. Titanium can be anodized, and the blade is obviously very beautiful. And it's very tough. It can hold and not edge well. The knife scales are well done, and having the portholes to display the beautiful blade are very aesthetically pleasing. The custom pivots and hardware are nice. The anodizing on the bass spacers are nice. The pocket clip is well done and is very functional. And so I'm very pleased with the knife. The only thing that I would think would be cool that you could do with the knife would be to change out the only 2 remaining steel parts, which are the ceramic detent ball is made of 440 steel. It would be easy just to make it a ceramic detent ball. The stop pin would be a little more difficult. You would have to have it custom made, milled on a CNC machine, and then carbonized to work well. But overall, this is one of my favorite knives and will be in my collection for a long time. So I'm going to allow you guys to enjoy the beauty of the knife and listen to some elevator music now.